In the world of AI, new models usually get launched with these huge press events and just a ton of hype. But what if one of the most powerful challengers we've seen yet just showed up? Okay, let's dive into the story of a model that is seriously shaking up the entire industry pretty much from the shadows.
For a while now, it's kind of felt like building top-tier AI is a game that only the biggest tech giants can afford to play. Training costs are soaring into the millions, sometimes hundreds of millions. But this new arrival? It's forcing all of us to ask a really fundamental question. Does it actually have to be that way?
And that challenger is called DeepSeek V3.1. It comes from a Chinese AI startup, DeepSeek, and it didn't show up with some flashy launch event. In fact, its arrival was, well, surprisingly quiet. It just appeared on Hugging Face, which, as you know, is the go-to platform for the entire developer community. No big announcement, no major press tour. It's the complete opposite of what we're used to seeing from its American competitors. But the model's specs, they really do speak for themselves. And this is exactly why it got noticed almost immediately. Get this, we are talking about a 685 billion parameter model. Now, to put that into perspective, that is an absolutely immense scale. It puts it right up there in the same league as the frontier models from the biggest AI labs in the world.
And on top of that, it has a 128,000 token context window. This means it can process and remember just huge amounts of information in a single go. Totally on par with what you'd expect from the latest models from OpenAI or Google. So yeah, it's big and it's capable. But here's where the story gets really, really interesting.
You'd expect a model of this size to be incredibly expensive to run, right? It just makes sense. Well, it turns out DeepSeek has a pretty clever trick up its sleeve that completely changes the economics of high-end AI. So the secret sauce here is an architecture called Mixture of Experts, or MOE. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Instead of the entire 685 billion parameter brain working on every single problem you throw at it, the model smartly activates only a small team of specialists, about 37 billion parameters, that are best suited for that specific task. This makes it unbelievably efficient. And that efficiency? It translates into a pretty staggering difference in cost. So let's say you want to run a complex coding task on a leading proprietary model. You could be looking at a bill of nearly $70. With DeepSeek V3.1, though, the cost is, well, you just have to see it for yourself.
$1.01. No, that is not a typo. It can perform a task that might cost you almost $70 on another system for just over $1. This isn't just a small improvement. It is a total game changer for the existing cost structure of high-end AI.
Okay, so it's cheap to run, we've established that. But is it any good? Well, the answer, according to early tests and the developer community, is a resounding yes. It's not just competing, in some areas it's actually taking the lead.
Take the ADER coding benchmark, for instance, which tests real-world coding ability. DeepSeek V3.1 doesn't just hold its own, it wins. It scores 71.6%, putting it just a hair ahead of a top-tier proprietary model like Anthropic's Claude Opus 4, so you're getting elite performance at a tiny, tiny fraction of the cost.
And the community noticed right away. Clem DeLonge, the CEO of Hugging Face, even pointed out how quickly it shot up their trending charts, even without a formal announcement or a detailed model card. It just goes to show that in the open source world, raw technical power is what really gets people excited, no matter where it comes from.
And, this isn't happening in a vacuum. The rise of these powerful open-weight models from companies like DeepSeek is directly influencing the strategy of the industry leaders. In fact, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has even said that this exact kind of competition was a factor in their decision to release some of their own open-weight models.
So, it's powerful, it's cheap, and it's open. Sounds perfect, right? But there's a catch. Just because you can download it for free doesn't mean it's necessarily easy to use.
There are some pretty significant practical barriers here. First off, the model itself is a massive 700 gigabyte download. Self-hosting something that big requires some serious hardware and technical expertise that most companies just don't have in-house. Then there's the potential hesitation from US companies because of its Chinese origin. And finally, there's the simple fact that it doesn't come with the polished, enterprise-grade support platforms that businesses are used to.
All of this really brings us to a bigger, more fundamental question about what the future of AI development is actually going to look like. DeepSeek V3.1 has set a new benchmark, and it's forcing a real shift in the conversation.
For years, the race has been all about who can build the single biggest, most powerful model. But with the continued release of state-of-the-art open models like this one, it feels like that's starting to change. The new competitive frontier might not be about raw power, but about accessibility, efficiency, and ultimately usability.
And that leaves us with this final thought. As these models become almost unimaginably powerful, the line between just an accessible tool and something you can truly customize and control gets much, much clearer. So the question for the future of AI really is this: what truly matters more, the absolute peak of raw power or the practical usability that puts that power into more people's hands?